Hello! This probably looks familiar to the few of you who watch all of my videos because I'm wearing the same thing in the same spot that I was at the end of my Go the Distance read along, and that's because I have a few minutes to record this very quick review for Vessel. And this is the first book in the Dark and Light. Let me pull this up. Yes, so the book is titled Vessel, which is the first book in the Love and Dark series by Hina Mccord and Becca C. Smith. I was able to get this book, I think it was on sale either for like free for a weekend or something, or 99 cents. So it was part of my Kindle hoarding where I just grabbed all the books I could find. And I finally got to it. Pretty quick, pretty short book itself. I think it says 273 pages on Amazon. So let me read you the description and then we'll go into my thoughts, which are not that many. Shay Harper is starting college with her best friend Aiden. She calls him her spirit twin because they were born at exactly the same time. He's never left her side. But when she meets the enigmatic and egocentric vampire Lucien, that all changes. He wants her, and Aiden wants to keep her from him. Aiden isn't just jealous, it's his duty to protect her. Shay is a vessel. As much as Aiden is sworn to protect the light within her, Lucien is sworn to drag the vessel to the depths of hell to release his father, Kalis, from his Enochian prison. At their cores, Lucien and Shay are darkness and light, and should never find common ground. But forces beyond their control tie them together, and neither one of them can fight their true destiny, that they are bound to each other forever. All right, so that's the quick description with the two authors. One author, in this case, Becca C. Smith, wrote the Shay chapters, and then Lucien chapters were written by Hina Mccord. So both of these authors looks like they've released several books on Amazon. At the end of Vessel, it did have quite a list, but one, I believe it was Becca, had less at the time. And just going off of that, I did feel like I liked Lucien's chapters more than Shay's. The writing style was a bit richer with Lucien. There was definitely a lot more deep descriptions. He had a lot of interesting things going on as well, because he had introducing the lore for the most part, because he'd been living for thousands of years and this thing was constantly going on. So the lore really hooked me in. Also, with that sort of ancient voice, he just kind of read more interesting than, I was about to say Becca, than Shay, who's a college freshman and sounds like a college freshman. So she sounds really young and immature. And there's a lot of contemporary slang in there. There's certain things that I was just, it felt fanficky, like it didn't feel written for a novel, it felt written for something online. So it had little distinct tone usage and phrases that I was not totally on board with. But it alternated between these two. And as far as my notes go, I thought the writing was very clean. It was written in first person. Both POVs were written in first person, which, because they were so different, it worked. But because Shay's first person was that contemporary, style that I don't care for, it was just harder for me to read. Like I said, she was somewhat immature. Her voice and the way she said things was immature, but then you would get almost within the page, it could be something exceedingly violent or very, very mature, especially with the sexual content, which didn't happen too often. I think there might have been a couple scenes in there. There is a trigger warning for the violence and sexual assault. So there's that if you guys don't like those things. The violence is very gratuitous. How do I say this without sounding like a psychopath? I can appreciate violence. I have violence in my own stories because I'm writing in action, and it's dark enough where there are consequences for what people do, especially when they do violent things. But the level of, not fake violence, but unbelievable violence actually took me out of the story a lot. And for those who've seen Invincible and watched that first episode when suddenly things go down at the end of that episode, and you're just like, you're either, shocked at what's happening, or you're just like, why is there so much blood and yanking people's spines out? This isn't Mortal Kombat. So this felt a lot like Mortal Kombat style violence, but also Aiden and Lucian, who were key members within this action a lot, were very quick to heal and bounce back. So it seemed like despite all of that violence and that pain, we're okay. They did suffer quite a bit, but it was really like that unrealistic violence that they bounced back from very quickly, that I was like, yeah, if they broke your bones, you shouldn't move for a bit. Even if you are healing, like, there should be time for you to heal. It just wasn't quite there. Like I said in my notes, the lore was the most interesting for me. The whole vessels being born every 500 years, and Aiden being the protector, and Lucian trying to grab them, take him to his father, to release his father, and the twist that came along with that, I thought was very interesting. I did enjoy learning about all of that and the different characters. I have not read Twilight, but I've watched like read-alongs of Twilight where they actually go into the books and you see all the things that the author had put in that wasn't translated into the movies, because the movies were very much like light fantasy, more on the romance. The twist in the middle I wasn't too surprised about, like the way, because we had two different POVs and Lucian being the more informed one, we kind of already knew what Aiden was going to do at that point. Everything that came afterward went by really quickly, because there was a lot of finding somebody and revealing information, and then fighting, and then big bad guy. Yeah, it was pretty quick. But again, it's a short story, or not a short story, it's a shorter novel. So it all was wrapped up pretty well. Because I wanted to try and just read whatever I could to get like I said, different genres. This one was definitely heavier on the romance, dark fantasy. Would I keep reading? I think there's 3 books in this series. I don't necessarily feel like I want to. This could have been a nice book in itself had they not put a twist at the end. Like, it felt all wrapped up with a pretty bow, and then I think the last few pages they went back to a different character and a thing happened that is just like of a twisty cliffhanger enough to pull you into the next book. But as far as the relationships between Lucian and Shay and Aiden, I'm good. Like, you explained enough of the lore where I got the gist of what's going on. We've dealt with Kaylee, at least enough. I'm not gonna like exactly tell you what happened to him. So I'm good. Like, I don't really feel the need to read the second and third book. If it ends up on my Kindle somehow, I'll read them for sure and I'll let you guys know. But I'm not about to go find it and buy it right away like I did with A Night Rises in Pip Coombs' Phoenix series. Like that one, I think it was literally the night that I finished reading the first one, I was like, yeah, I'll pay $2.99 right now because I want this book. With this one, I'm not feeling that much motivation to continue because so many things were wrapped up, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna write another book, so here's a little twist. Okay. So that's just my opinion on it. I do like the cover. I like it to the point of it fits the theme. This one, it doesn't give me too many questions on what it's supposed to be about. You kind of like see your love triangle in there, which thankfully, this was the nice part. I was not looking forward to the Aiden, Lucian, Shay love triangle, but to their credit, they really kept it focused on Lucian and Shay. And while Aiden was there and he was super hot, and like she was jealous and she basically was in love with him without being in love with him, he remained in the friend zone and he was okay with that. And then Lucian and Shay were the ones that relationship changed and evolved, and they became an item thing. So that I appreciated, because I really didn't want this whole back and forth with Lucian and Aiden. They may or may not pursue that further in the next books, but I don't know, because I only read the first one. So, we talked about the plot, we talked about characters for the most part, the writing. I mean, overall, yeah, I enjoyed it enough that I did want to continue reading while I was reading, but I do not feel the need or the desire to read the next book in the series or continue the series unless it's like ends up in my hand. So those were my thoughts on this quick review for Vessel, the first book in the Love and Dark series by Becca C. Smith and Hina Mccord. If you guys have written your own novel and self-published it, or if you know someone, or if you recommend a self-published book for me to read and review, let me know in the comments below. Also, you can message me on Instagram, because that's primarily what I use for like social media now. So Instagram or messaging me below, let me know. We got other book things going on. I got my book stuff coming up, so there's probably going to be like a surge of that for the next 3 months. Sorry, not sorry. But until the next review / video / whatever is coming up, I'll see you guys later.